I've learned a lot about the absolute need for having a digital presence. For example, Brent Higglesey, who was my guest, he is the CMO at CrowdStreet, right? And he said, if you don't have a digital presence as a developer, you will cease to exist, right? And I was talking, somebody actually contacted me they wanted to hire my company to build out their online presence. And I said that to him and he kind of mocked me and don't even try and defend that, right? Because it's undefendable. We will always exist. And I said, yeah, well, okay. When 11 million accredited, if you don't have a digital presence, when those 11 million accredited investors, one of those accredited investors goes online and says, I want to invest $1 million in real estate, how do I do that? And your name doesn't show up, you don't exist in that investor's eyes, right? And I'm kind of casting a slightly, broad question there. But when you drill down on that, we're talking about things like SEO, for example, right? What is a good cap rate? Somebody puts that in, they're probably beginning to think about investing online, or they are already. And if your name doesn't show up, you don't exist, right? So obviously you do, right? Because you're sitting there and what is it? Oh gosh, I forget the bloody Latin. I've taught my kids this. To be is to be. Oh gosh, it'll come back to me the second we finish this. But basically, if you don't have a digital presence, investors will be unable to find you. And even if they do, even if you meet somebody at a cocktail party or at a conference and they say, oh yeah, I'd like to invest, and you give them your name, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go online and they're going to look you up. And if you don't have a presence, if you don't have intelligent dialogue with them, if you don't continue that communication with them online, they will find somebody else to communicate with digitally, and they will establish a relationship with your competition and not with you.
Yeah, it's not about who you
Cogito
know.
ergo sum. Cogito
there you got
ergo sum. That's what I was trying to remember. I think, therefore I am. Right.
Right. That's the extent of it, because it's not about who you know. It's about who knows you. So the fact that you exist is not consequential if someone doesn't know it.
Correct.
And
right,
they have to be able to find you, which is really the underlying thesis of the entire marketing space. And I completely agree, by the way. I think that there are some old school firms that, I've invested with for years that have zero online component, that are unwilling to do as much as have a actual website that you can actually meaningfully interface with. But within the next 5 years, that's going to be really, really challenging. And obviously, I think we can see out within the next 20 years, it's going to be almost impossible, because the demand for that level, that institutional level of interface, even what you mentioned CrowdStreet, for example, they have a third-party white label portal platform where you can get an experience with that as an investor is very similar to what you would experience if you had an E-Trade account. 10 years ago, that was not a part of investing in real estate. Now, it's very quickly becoming demanded by the investor base. And so we're seeing this massive shift in that demand.
Well, the other thing is, right, so if you're sitting on your hands, confident that you have an investor network that you've been tapping for the last 30, 40 years, and you know what, we don't need it. We don't need that digital rigmarole. Thank you very much. What's going to happen over time is that investor base is going to start becoming familiarized with your competition online, and your competition is going to start communicating with your investor base. And so when you come to them and you say, we're offering a 6 pref, your investors are going to come to you and say, well, that's kind of interesting. We've been with you for a long time, but everyone else is offering an 8. So just wondering why. Right? Again, I'm pulling an oversimplified example,
sure,
right? Or making an oversimplified example. So it's very important that you do communicate why you do that. Right? There's good reason for that. There's good reason not to have a current pay on a pref, right? Instead of paying, if you've not got a non-income producing property, paying current doesn't make sense, but a lot of sponsors will do it because investors want that. So if you don't do it, you want to be articulating why. And you have to do it. You have to establish a relationship with people. You have to do it online. Otherwise, all those folk, I'm going back a bit of circle here, but all those folk that you think love you are going to start falling in love with other people, right? Your base will start to erode in time.